Okay, so today I am going to be talking about the EasyShade 5. This is the fifth one, so hence the name 5. You might call some people call it the EasyShade V, but that's just Roman numerals. So you know how that works. So there's always been the classic shade guide, then the 3D master, and then they came out with the other 3D master, two-step linear guide, sorry. So they've always had this. I think they've had it since the year 2000. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is their fifth version. Now it actually has a touchscreen underneath. So what you do is it comes with a block. The block has numbers on it, and each shade guide, EasyShade, sorry, matches that perfectly ceramic block. So that's a ceramic block in there. So when you have these, just be careful how you clean these. You don't want to do anything that can distort the color because that's how this is calibrated. Okay, so when you calibrate these things, you click, see? And then it's calibrated. However, you do not want to take a shade until you want to calibrate it with the infection control shield on it. So again, calibrate it. Okay, so what this machine does, it sends a light, see how it's flickering, onto the tooth, and it will actually give you a shade. So see how it was flickering and then it wouldn't do anything until it was on something? It has to be flat against a surface in order to tell it's shade. If not, it'll just flicker all the time. So that's the one thing they've changed about this is the actual accuracy on these things. Because back in the day, you could take a shade and be like, oops, I slipped, and then it'll take a shade of the air. So that's been changed. So it just sends like a spectral light that actually infiltrates the tooth and then bounces back and tells it the shade. Kind of like our radar gun for speed. And that's the shade of my finger. So it comes with, this is all natural teeth. Everything here is for natural teeth. So if the patient has a crown, you'll go down to here. So this is the crown section. And then down here, see the arrows, I'm using the arrows, is for the settings. So see how it says trash? It actually saves 30 of the last shades you've taken. So if you've taken, we'll just say 13 shades so far, and the last patient was Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith left, and you're like, oh no, what was her shade? I didn't write it down. You can literally go into it and be like, oh, which one was she? She was number, what did I say, 13? I don't know. She was number 13 today. So, oh, there's her shades. And then this is just for trashing them. So I can trash all 30 if I want, but I'm not going to do that. And then you have your settings. So what the settings is actually you can use it as a teaching tool. And down here, it'll be the volume. And then this is Bluetooth. So I have this set up to my phone. So you can download the app. And that way, if you wanted to, you can take a shade and you can send the information. I'm going to show you all the information. That off to the lab or off to the dentist or whatever you want to do. This is for training purposes. So you would go classic. Oops. And then A3. And then it also works with 3D. 2.5. And then, so that's how you basically just train it, sorry. And this is, again, back in the natural teeth. So this is how you're going to do it with the real patient. So this is, I call it one and done. So you literally just takes one shot, one light penetrates, bounces back, tells you the shade. Oops. So here we'll have it, and then what it does, so we'll say Francis comes in, he's getting a whole half arch done. Hold it against it, and Francis here is either 2M2 or A1. So it does both classic and 3D for all of the shades that it takes. So it'll have also at the top, you'll see how this tooth, and then it'll have block, and then it'll have the sun. So that's right here. So we'll go into the block. If you're a CAD/CAM dentist, it tells you what block to use. And also, this is bleach. So we have a shade guide that is from 1 to 29. And so that way you can tell the patient, hey, you're a number 7. You don't want to tell a patient, hey, you're an A3. Let's see if we can give you a bleach kit and get you down to an A1. The common world out there does not know dentistry like that. They know numbers though. Most of them, I hope. So you can tell them they're a 7 on the shade guide. And then what you need to do is then take them down to a 4. So they buy a bleaching kit from you. And then you can bleach them all the way down to a 1, which would then be like an OM1. So going back. So now that's 1 and done. This is average. So what that means by average, you can take, see how it says average 0? So you can take a shade of Francis here. 1, all over the place. 3, 4. So that was 5, right? And look at that, it says 5. So on average, this patient is 2L 1.5 or an A1. It'll tell you the block to use. Ooh, I use a 2M1 or an A1. And again, the bleach is still a 7. So the reason, FYI, the reason this is different than the other one is because I'm going in natural teeth. So I'm not actually scanning a natural tooth. This is a denture tooth. So it needs to know what it's scanning. Like I showed you before, it's either natural tooth or a crown or a shade guide. It needs to know what it's taking because it needs to know basically, I guess, the material. So it sends the way it sends the light and back. So anywho, so you have 2L 1.5 and A1. I'm going to get into these shades. So see how it says, it shows green and yellow. So green means if you use a 2L 1.5, you are 3 out of 3 bang on. If it's yellow, it's like this is really close to bang on. So if you're using the classic guides, you say you're going to go A1, it's going to be really, really close. So 3D is either going to be bang on accurate or close. Classic, you're going to have all 3. So it might even go up into the red. So there's green, yellow, red. So red means basically this is the closest I can get you. This is the best I can find you in the classic shade guide. Because that's just how life is. Not everyone's exactly a 2M1. For example, they might be a 2M 1.3, but 2M1 is the best you're going to get. But again, I've told before and to say it again, value is the most important thing. So if you use a 2L 1.5, you're going to get a lot more accuracy for making a crown that way. The 2 is the most important part. Anywho, so when you click on that 2L 1.5, it'll actually tell you the porcelains you could mix. So if it wasn't a yellow, so if it wasn't a green, say it was yellow, you could actually mix different, it will tell you which porcelains to mix to get the accuracy for that. And then if you go into this, because it was yellow and it wasn't green, so it'll actually tell you the value, the hue, the chroma, everything like that. Gives you all the information about the shade of that tooth, which is pretty fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to go back. And then here is the other setting. Again, these are all natural teeth. So that here is 1, 2, 3. You see it? So I click on that. And then I bring out Francis again. So I do the cervical, the middle, and the incisal. So then it tells me what to use. So all along, so at the cervical, I'll use that. And then if you want to do classic, these are the porcelains you could use. So if you wanted to, what I would do, if I was doing, say, for example, a crown, a block, I would go A1 because there's your middle. You got 2 out of 3. And if you're using a crown, this 3D shade for the crown, I'd go 2M1 because these are all 2s. So that's the value. Again, value is 80 to 90% of the crown. You got the value, you're going to get 80% of the 90% of the accuracy. And then you go down. Oops. There we go. Sorry, that took forever to find. There's only 3 sections. And then this is the crown section. So if they have a ceramic crown, because it needs to know how it's sending the penetrating the light. So if this patient had a existing crown already, it's going to help you get a lot more accuracy to find the next tooth. And I would use that. So this is what it's telling you, that the existing crown is a 2M1 or a C1. If you don't have the file, they went to another dentist. And then here are all the files. Yeah, that's basically it. It's pretty simple. I know the new shade guide has a bleach setting. I haven't used it yet, so I'm not really sure. This button right here is just for power. But yeah, it's fairly simple. It's wireless charging, so you just rest it on. You would have a plug, and then you can have this in your center console or center of all your ops, so that way you can literally just calibrate and then walk it over to your patient and then do what you have to do. You just have to charge it maybe overnight, but you still need to calibrate it. This is at 45%. I've had this thing just sitting around forever, and I've taken dozens of shades. It'll last you a day. I wouldn't worry about that. So you can just charge it at the end of the day and then take it out and then kind of move it to room, the op to op. It's up to you. But this is basically a way of standardizing your office. It definitely helps, so that way you don't have to have one person taking the shade, because I know sometimes some office will be like, oh, Susie's the best one at taking shades, so what she can do is she can be the shade taker. Well, Susie gets sick and Susie gets holidays. So this is just basically, again, a way of standardizing the office. Now, the one thing I also like to show people is some people might slam it down, slam it down, slam it down, and that can loosen up the batteries. So the batteries, you just wiggle this, comes right off. There's your batteries. Make sure it's in. Sometimes you got to change the batteries. Now these come with lithium batteries. These are specialized batteries. So yes, the sad part is if in 2 or 3 years, you might need to change the batteries depending on how much you use it. I've had this for 3 years. I haven't changed them yet. But do not put your regular store-bought batteries in here. I've seen it where the batteries exploded inside these because people didn't want to spend the $3 to buy an extra set of batteries. So the batteries will last you for a long time. But sometimes it'll be like this. It'll be glowing charging. And then when they take it out, they're like, oh, it's black screen. It's not actually working. What's going on? And so it'll be a black screen and they're like, what's going on? And then literally sometimes it's just the batteries need to be pushed in. That doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. I want to say 1 out of 10, maybe 2 out of 10 at the very most. It'll happen every now and then. So just so you're aware of it. Okay, perfect. If you have any questions, please leave some comments and let me know. Thank you.